So as our last segment just showed, the new data clearly demonstrates a steady and huge drop in all homicides, including intimate partner homicides against women in Australia since 1989. In 2023, male victims were 69% of homicides, but the overall number was half the 1989 number. And the female rate is a huge 58% down on what it was in 1989 too. So much good news that we can hardly stand it. A bad 4 months out of 34 years, as tragic as it is, must not be used to drive hasty, panicked political decision-making. Our lack of ability in Australia to stay rational amid the emotion and do proper statistical analysis is getting ridiculous and dangerous. Sometimes the right thing to do is not to act, not to spend, and not to have government intervention. And guess what kind of government intervention they want to solve this problem, and the problem might not even exist. Yep, you guessed it, online censorship. What a surprise. Apparently this non-existent increase in violence against women is caused by that catch-all bogeyman of the 21st century, social media. Just shut down people arguing and communicating and discussing issues and all our problems will magically go away. No, they won't. They'll just get swept under the carpet and the bureaucratic elites will have control again over what you can and can't know and discuss and what the mainstream media will be told to report. Albo really copped it at the women's rally last weekend. It was kind of fun watching a man who's built his political power in part on the false narrative of demonising men every single chance he can possibly get, finally copping it from the same extreme feminist mob that went after ScoMo and Tony Abbott. Here's how ABC News saw that.
As women around the country gathered to march at the weekend, they were joined by the Prime Minister, who walked with the crowd and listened. When the rally called for the federal government to do more, he wanted to respond. Rally organiser Sarah Williams let the crowd decide whether he should speak. And with microphone in hand, the Prime Minister expressed his frustration.
To be clear, we did ask to speak, myself and Katie, and were told that that wasn't possible, and that's fine. I respect the organisers' right to do that.
That's a full-out lie.
To do that.
The organiser accusing Albo of lying there is Sarah Williams. She said she'd asked the Prime Minister previously to speak at the rally, but was told that he was too busy. On Monday, the Today Show got the Prime Minister on to talk about what happened and to respond to the allegation of lying from Ms Williams. But have a listen to what Ms Williams wrote on social media after the event, according to the Today Show.
Sarah Williams wrote on social media after the event that the Prime Minister showed entitlement and abused his power to diminish a vulnerable young woman.
I'm sorry, what? Can we just play that again?
Sarah Williams wrote on social media after the event that the Prime Minister showed entitlement and abused his power to diminish a vulnerable young woman.
She says he abused his power to diminish a vulnerable young woman. I'm not in the habit of defending Albo, but guys, we've just got to stop letting stuff like this go through to the keeper. We've got to stop and call it out. There's too many casual put-downs of men that just go by without anyone challenging them. Carl wouldn't dare, it's too scary on morning TV, and I frankly don't blame him. Although Lisa Wilkinson's not beside him anymore, so it's a bit less dangerous up there than it used to be, I guess. But anyway, let's just correct this utter nonsense about Albo diminishing a vulnerable young woman. The Prime Minister was very deferential. He asked to speak before doing so. He wasn't acting entitled, although Sarah Williams might be shocked to realise that he is the Prime Minister of our country, so he actually has every right to feel a teensy-weensy bit of entitlement to speak at a rally, since he kind of has earned the right to because he was voted in by the people. Do we have no respect at all anymore for our institutions? Anyway, I am not going to defend Albo anymore. He's brought all of this on himself. Here's how he tried to wiggle his way out of it all on Channel 9.
Prime Minister, good morning. So what did happen?
Good morning. Good to be with you. Well, what was important yesterday was that the organisers throughout the country deserve credit for organising these rallies. I was happy not to speak. I was happy to speak.
You were called a liar. How does that sit with you?
I'm focused on the issue, Carl. It was an emotional day for people, and I get that. what is an emotional issue, because women were saying yesterday, enough is enough.
And we've got heaps more platitudes like that from Albo throughout the week, but I'm not sure what else a Prime Minister in the current climate in Australia could actually say here. It'd be hard to go on national television and try to show all the data that we just showed in our last segment, that homicide rates of all kinds are going down, and then argue that there actually is no problem, when the mass hysteria is insisting that there is some kind of crisis. Imagine Albo standing there trying to say, look, I'm sorry, but everyone's got it wrong. There's actually no problem. He'd be howled out of government, but he'd actually be right. Anyway, it couldn't happen to a more deserving bloke, in my opinion.
So we need to look across the board at all of the policies and what we can do to make a positive difference.
I think PM people are obviously very grateful, for the record funding that you're pouring into this space, right? But yesterday what we saw was emotion, as you mentioned, but also frustration that we've had 27 women allegedly killed here at the hands of men. It's just not good enough. And we saw those scenes repeated right across the country. I mean, you've called an emergency national cabinet, but the concern is, you might be pessimistic, but it's just going to be another talk fest.
Well, I agree, Sarah, that we need to do more. And that's what women were calling for yesterday. And that's what their allies were calling for as well.
If you like that content and you want to watch more, join us at adh.tv for all of our great content. But also, if you watch here on YouTube, hit that subscribe button and that bell. Subscribe here if you like, or watch full episodes here. All of it helps us, and we will make sure that the awful conspiracy theory about YouTube and Google suppressing right-wing content is completely ended forever.